Welcome, 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 brother. Welcome back to the Rose Garden. Happy Thursday to you.
Yeah, happy Thursday to you as well. Good to see you back here again.
Oh, I'm so excited to be with you. It's my, it's my happy place when we spend our time in the Rose Garden. How was your week?
It's been a grueling week so far, but it's been good. Very productive. Lots of things done. What
Oh,
about
see, I
you?
don't want to hear about all your productivity. We coming off the holiday. You didn't have any fun this weekend?
Always try to have fun doing my favorite pastime, which is just relaxing.
Your
What about
pastime
you?
is relaxation.
Yeah,
Listen,
definitely.
I have been with the Get Along gang, my family, for about almost going on 2 weeks, and it has been a really, really, really nice delight. We're actually
Mhm.
not home, which is awesome. So we are on the road. We took our family road trip. And it's a bunch of us. So we are out here living our best life, making good memories. So it's been wonderful experience. And it's been great to see how we all kind of can handle the minutia of traveling with
Yeah, I know
with the
that's
various levels of people. Because we have the toddlers or the infants, really. They're not toddlers, I don't think, but one of them feels like a toddler. And then we have the Gen Zers, our children, and then I'm lucky enough to be traveling with my mother-in-law, which has been awesome. So it's been an awesome experience. So I'm just happy to be here with you. For those who don't know, I am Sarita. I'm the better half of the sibling pair, although my brother is the most brilliant part of us. And we do the Rose Garden to honor our grandmother, who was such a wonderful influence in our lives. And we take this time to create the safest space that we can so that we can talk about anything that we'd like to talk about, in our life's journey. But today, we have some really funky, fresh guests, don't we?
Yeah, you speak about family. I just like to introduce our guest that's live from Sweden. It's
Jag kommer
part
till Sverige. Hope you had a
yeah,
Oh, I speak English? Okay.
yeah, I didn't get the tutorial on
Google Translate.
how to introduce them in Sweden, but Karina Duff and Gary Nelson, both of them are very near and dear to my heart. They're like the Papa Bear and Mama Bear for my children, and they graciously hosted us for the first time. Our first trip to Europe, and we had such an amazing time. So I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves.
And I'm so happy they're here. I heard so much about that trip, Gary and Karina, that I'm jealous. I'm now you heard about my pack. We can all come to Sweden if you want us to.
You're welcome. You're welcome anytime.
See you next month.
Yeah.
In Sweden, there's a
Yeah.
saying: after 3 days, guests smell like fish. But Karina and I we're dual citizens. So the American side is it's been 3 days. Here's the key to the house, and here's the code to the alarm. Now piss off.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what? What's so valuable to me in this space is that when my brother went to visit you all, he
Mm.
told the story of how you all met. It might be great for our guests to know how you all met and what that connection was, and how now his children see you all as family as well.
Well, I guess I'll take the first go at how we met, Karina, and then you can jump in there and share the perspective from your side. But when I first met Karina, Karina was in the U.S. She was living in the U.S. I think.
Take your hand away from your mouth. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, she was in the U.S. around in Maryland, right? And
Yeah.
I was looking for a house at the time, and she was a realtor. And I think we looked at like 250 houses,
Sure. Yeah.
and it was wild because we didn't have a GPS or anything like that. We had those things that you print out the directions and all that stuff, and I just thought Karina was so in her spirit, just such a lovely person and very patient and all,
Yeah.
and all this stuff. And I know I'm a person that's really hard to please because I couldn't.
I know that too. And, you know, for sure. But no realtor would have had that patience. I mean, they show you three houses and that's it. But,
Yeah.
this was something. It was you and Wes.
Yes, that's
And it
right.
was so special because we were joking in the car and getting lost. I didn't know the area.
Yeah.
I was such a rookie. I don't know even why I got into that business, but because I liked houses, I have no idea what I
Yeah,
was doing.
exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And so, it's funny because on during that time that we were doing this, like this adventure of looking at houses and stuff like that, like Karina said, we were laughing and joking, getting lost and all this stuff. But Wes would be, with me all the time. And one of the times Karina had looked up, I think Wes was riding in the back seat, and she says to him, "You know what? You got some really nice eyelashes, and all you got to do is like bat your eyes at a girl, and she's gonna like you or whatever, right?" And then
Yeah.
I think she mentioned something about Swedish girls or something. And fast forward to now, Wes's girl, the girl he built the family with is from Sweden,
Are you
and
kidding?
and
Yeah.
she
That's
and she
unbelievable. Yeah.
and she said that
Yeah.
before she met Wes, she had a dream of these eyes.
Yeah.
And then when she saw him, that she knew that this was the eyes from her dream. So Karina
Oh,
connected all those dots.
well, can I say something, Karina? You over there teaching these handsome. Listen, they don't need any help flirting. I tell you, I have gone out with both West and my brother, and when I tell you, it's like the heavens part. These women look at them, and I'm like, they're not even that cool. They're not talking to you. They're not saying nothing to you. They don't have no game, but all these women flock over and say, "I want to get to know these bald-headed men." And I'm like, why? They don't talk. They just look at you. So, Karina, you started something way back when, I see, with this
Yeah.
batting of the eyes. So now I know what the secret is. They're over there batting their eyes.
Yeah.
Nah,
That's
not
the,
not
that's
not
the,
we. That was for Wes.
but you have to have those eyelashes. Maybe Xadian would, uh, what's it called? Benefit from false eyelashes.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that one for Wes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he got that naturally. That he gifted with that naturally. So I can't I
Yeah.
Yes, he
can't cut
is.
into
Yeah.
that one.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what's so valuable about Karina and Gary is that they are expats, and we are living in such a interesting period right now in the United States. Karina and Gary, how much do you follow what's going on
That's
in the
putting it
U.S.?
mildly.
I didn't hear what she said.
She says we're
I
living
said,
in interesting times, and I said
Yes.
that's putting it
Yeah,
mildly.
we are certainly are. And in the beginning, when this orange man came to power, we
Stunned.
first we stunned, of course, but then we've actually been thanking every day that we're living here. I mean, I loved living in America. That was wonderful. But of course, I was far away from my family and my grandkids.
yeah.
But otherwise, it was fine. But Gary was the one who was kind of driving this project, if we so would call it, because he had always had a dream of living in Europe, and now he met, a European. So we moved here, and now in this situation, we're happy we're here. On the other hand, we have Russia nearby. We have Ukraine that we sympathize with a lot, of course, and other things going on. So, I mean, the world is just very much upside down at this
Yes.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels like it for us too. Gary, when you first went to Sweden, what was the adjustment like?
What like?
The adjustment like for you?
To move to Sweden.
We got married the first week in January, 7 January
In the US.
in the U.S. I think it was the 10th, 9th or 10th. Karina came back here to apply for her permanent residency, and the next day I had spinal surgery.
Mm.
And I'm laying at home with this big brace. So I went in and asked my shop boss, Chief Master Sergeant Burton, I said, can I go somewhere? Well, I'm on sick leave. He said, yeah, go anywhere you want. I need a phone number and an email address. So Karina and I spent our honeymoon in Lidingö, which is a big island just north of Stockholm.
Mm.
And we went outside one morning and it was like minus 20, 22 Celsius. Minus 17 is +4 Fahrenheit.
Wow.
So you're
Wow.
talking about -4 Fahrenheit. And I'm in a surgical back brace and walking through this weather and going, I certainly had doubts. And so what's this? I said, I can't wait to get back to Maryland. But the more I learned about her family, the culture, traditions, I even like the laws here.
Mm.
The laws are pragmatic, except for the Green Party and they call them what do they call them?
Sweden Democrats.
Swedish Democrats, which are their lineage goes back to 1940s. They're Nazis.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's a just amazing place. So acclimation, not a problem. Well, yeah, for the most part, not a problem, except for the weather.
Well, you know,
this California boy is having. Yes.
well, you know, it's funny because when I was
there,
there, when I was out there with Gary and Karina, I think it was a time of the year where it's like 20 hours of sunlight, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And only, yeah. And then, but there's another time of the year where it's the exact opposite, right? Where it's like
The sun doesn't really rise.
right. So
No.
that was an interesting experience for me because I really like you know, the sun and the natural light. So it just seemed like it was there all the time. So it was kind of cool to experience that. I never had seen that in my life. So
No, we call it the White Nights.
yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
But Gary,
how long does it last?
Yeah, good question.
Pardon me?
How long
She
does
wants
it
to know how
last?
long does it last? Where it's like
It lasts from a
Late
little
May.
bit beginning mid, I would say June, July, and then in August it starts to taper off more and more, and then we go back to. It doesn't get dark right away, but the days are more comparable to the U.S. after that, and then when we get towards the winter solstice.
Mhm.
Then that's when it's really really dark, and if it's a leaden sky, it's snowing or something, you hardly see any daylight.
Mm. Well, you know, I was wondering how, because Gary had a very illustrious career in terms of being in the military and then also law enforcement. You know, so to see the changes that's happening in the U.S. now, how do you feel about it? Was it due to you, man, to watch?
Well, a lot of
countries
Swedes tell me I've never seen anything like this before, and I say, "Oh, it's always been like that." What?
I hear that.
Yeah. Crime, drugs, racism, animosity, misogyny, xenophobia. It's always been there. It's just that a huge part of the population found their saint.
Yeah, that's right.
And they came out of the woodwork. And sadly, when Trump is gone, people are going to remember. So they said, okay, it's always been there that way. I said, yeah, I've never seen it this bad.
Yeah.
If I can.
It's hard to. And like I just finished Swedish Masters, 6 days of competitions, and I didn't even have to bring it up. They would say, "What's going on over there? You're making what?
Right.
What?" I said, "Hell, I lived there for 58 years.
Right.
You want me to? If I could explain it, I'd be working for CNN."
But another thing that made me think of this thing with the T-Rump is that he's been nominated twice now for Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that is not, he can be nominated, but the thing is there is a committee in Norway. The Peace Prize is given out in Norway, and it's that committee who decides who is going to get the Peace Prize. So it doesn't matter if 100 persons or whatever nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. It doesn't work that way. It's a totally different process that they look upon. I mean, we can see the past Peace Prize laureates, and there have been people from very poor countries, poor areas, and so forth. Not someone that's gold and marble only. Yeah,
Right.
Netanyahu nominated Trump. Netanyahu
That's wild.
has never received a Nobel Prize of any kind.
Mhm.
No,
So
but
that was just lip service. Pakistan nominated him and said, and then they withdrew it. And was there somebody else? So I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, you don't
Down either.
Yeah.
what's the word? Campaign on no more wars and then bomb Iran. I mean,
Right.
Right. It's so interesting and I think helpful. And I don't know about you, brother. I feel a lot of hope in this conversation because hearing how we show up in other countries is
Mhm.
not something we get to reflect on here in the United States because the media now has been so hijacked with pro-Trump rhetoric almost, and there's just no outlet in my mind that really is talking about how other people experience us. I know as a Black American and a Black American female here, it feels very hostile. Now, it always felt somewhat hostile, as a woman, as a female, and as a Black person. It didn't feel safe in any kind of perspective. But I will say that veil of safety that at least I could create in my own community has now been stripped away, where I have counterparts who have worked their lifetime to build careers in education. I'm a licensed psychologist by training who have served the veterans, who've served within the government population and served everybody. Like as a servant, as a psychologist, we are serving people. Now, after 25 years of building your career, jobs are ripped away from you, and you're being told, not necessarily by anybody who knows what you do or how you do it, that you're lazy, that you're not contributing to the community, and you need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and all these terrible messages that suggest that the very people who were oppressed in this country, particularly Black people through slavery and things like that, don't now deserve what they have worked hard to receive. So it's wonderful to hear that other countries are not buying into this BS that, we're
not at
making
all.
America.
No.
It's so good to hear. That reflection feels good because what I will say, I'm happy that Gary, you pointed it out. It's always been here, but it's been, to me, it's like a boiling pot where if you have the lid on, the bubbles are still boiling, but you don't get to see all the foam, the steam. Well, what happened when we nominated Trump and now he's elected again is the lid is off and you get to see the steam, you get to see the ugliness of the boil. And that's what's actually happening. And I hope that humanity here in America wins. I can be a hopeful person. I don't know that I see it going in that direction.
But I do think it's good that the pot's off, that people are able to, that this is exposed. And, I also feel that just looking at Gary's life as an example, we're not tied to the U.S. So we can go other places, right? If the U.S. doesn't value us,
Right.
Yeah.
But Gary had Karina. Like, who do we have? Karina, are you adopting us?
Yeah, that's right. And I was just going to say, it's not always that easy to go to another place. I have one friend, a U.S. friend that is used to be a judge, U.S. attorney. She was very upset even the first time he was elected, this man we're talking about. And she made efforts, but efforts to move, but it wasn't easy. And, she she's extremely knowledgeable about the law, of course, and all the legal stuff. But eventually, they moved to an island in the
St.
Caribbean.
Martin.
You haven't say the island. I
Right,
wasn't going to
right.
say the island, but they moved away
Well,
to
they're not gonna
an
find
island in the Caribbean. So that's where they are now. And she has European ancestry in one of the European countries. So she could also claim some kind of home country there. But otherwise, it's not easy. It's not
No,
easy.
it's not. I mean,
Because
it's
it's also
easier said than done.
Yeah.
Well, speaking
Yeah.
of not easy, Karina mentioned that we don't have to carry our Swedish passport to America if we were to go. That's
Mhm.
not true.
Oh yeah.
No,
Wow.
because
Why not?
once you, I'm in the database as American born, but in the database with customs and immigration, they also know that I have a Swedish passport.
Hmm.
And in October of 2020, I was adopted. My brother found me. He wasn't doing well. He had cancer. So I jumped on a plane and went there. I went into Frisco and showed him both my passports. And I said, American born. What irritated me further, I had a cap with veteran and the Air Force symbol.
Mm.
And they detained me for 35 minutes.
Wow.
And I asked twice, two different individuals, and got no answer as to why I was detained. That was the last, that was about a month before Biden won the election.
Mhm.
And it's worse. It's just,
Mhm.
words fail me to describe how much worse it
Yeah.
became.
We hear that from his deceased brother's daughter, and how in California, how they're just coming into the streets, ICE, and just arresting people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
just-
I mean,
yes,
just
it's
abducting
terrible.
people. Yeah. But
Yeah,
you
it's
know
really
what? I
hostile.
wanted to share with Sarita though that when my kids went to Europe to see you guys, it was the first time we were going to Europe, and it was a lot of controversy for us to get there, right? Because the airline
Yeah.
went on strike, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think it
Yeah.
was going to happen. And the way that we got there, we ended up just, just taking a flight to Germany. And they were like, well, once you get there, you'll figure the rest out. And I was just thinking,
No.
that's so unsettling, you know what I mean? But we ended up doing it anyway. And when we get there or whatnot, the bags weren't there, so our bags weren't there yet because, it's all this confusion. They were on the flight that the airline went on strike on. So anyway, we just all made the best of it, and I would say that half of the trip we went to Spain, and then we came back again to Sweden. And when we were gone, Karina set out like little gifts, like little tokens of things that she had seen that we expressed interest in,
Yeah.
And so long story short, on the day we were leaving, we stayed up all night long. Nobody went anywhere.
We got a
Uh-oh.
message. Our recording
Wait.
has stopped.
I'm not.
Yeah,
Yes,
something
too.
happened.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
This is the joys of live taping.
It didn't like my
Refresh.
story, huh?
It didn't like your story. It totally didn't like your story. I think
Gary and
they
Karina
dropped
have
out.
stopped recording.
Yes, he dropped out. They're gonna have to jump back in, and then you're gonna have to redo all your live streaming again. Oh,
word.
that's okay. That's okay. Let's keep going. When they jump back in, you're gonna
Okay.
have to reset
Oh,
up
shit.
everything, or you're just gonna just let it go.
Well, it's still banging. Look like now, it didn't stop. They're
Oh, it
recording.
did.
You're
Okay.
back.
Yeah,
There,
we
they're
go.
back.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
This is
Yes.
the joy of
It
live.
was.
This is the
Yeah.
joy of live recording. I
Yeah.
love it. So she was saying that you
But-
left
Hey,
little trinkets from
Karina,
the.
you
No,
there?
I was
Can you
going
hear
to.
us?
Yeah, I can hear. I can hear.
Mhm.
I was
Mhm.
going to comment on Gary's story about the passport, and he was being detained because Sweden acknowledges that you're a dual citizen, but America does not acknowledge any other dual citizenship. You are
Mm.
you're American in America. That's it. So I have always traveled with going through customs in Sweden, also getting on the plane, only showing my American passport. Coming to the same thing in America, only showing my American passport. So I think that Gary made a mistake, but we argue about that. So we're not going to go. Yeah, nothing.
This is the joy of being married. We can argue and listen.
About what?
And,
Nothing.
and
You never
Karina
make-
wins.
No.
Well,
And Karina wins. You know what's cool about this? This is the perfect transition, I think, because Gary, you had a wonderful, like, in addition to your military service, which I don't, it's such a stellar service. You were also a competitive pistol shooter, which is such an interesting type of recreational activity. But tell us if you're still enjoying that now in Sweden,
Oh, yeah.
and how is it different from the United States?
Ooh, courses of fire. What's repetitious is slow fire precision and military rapid fire. And then there's field shooting, and you never know what you're going to get in terms of target layout and distances. And they even have targets that swing. They come up,
wow.
they come down. It's more
Forest and hills.
Huh?
Forest and hills. In the forest and on hills.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Forest, shooting ranges, sides of mountains. It's a little tough on me now. There's these really long courses, and they beat me up. But there's other courses that are just, like sequence. You don't walk very far. That's what I'm gonna do next year. Is just
I
easy
hear you
ones.
on that.
But
Keep your knees together. Did you transition right into shooting right when you came to Sweden, or was it difficult to transition there?
difficult. It's just totally different, and it was awesome, but it was difficult.
It was
But you had to qualify first.
Yeah, well, yeah, for Swedish Masters, which you would use the term national championships, you just don't write a check or send what is that, Venmo?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't say, "Oh, okay, I'm coming." You got to qualify for it. You have to earn points.
You got to be good enough. You have to be good enough.
Yeah,
You have to earn it.
What's that guy's name? They don't want Barney Fife showing up and hitting wood and crossfiring on targets.
Right.
I've known competitors here in Esthammer for 13 years, never qualified, but they keep coming up. It's a good, how do you say? It's a social gathering. It's socially pleasing and like Barry.
Yeah.
and Gary is just good. He's just good at it.
You're just good at it. You qualified. He's being humble, isn't he? Yeah, it's hard,
he's acquired a bunch of every time he goes, he gets all of these prizes or whatnot. And he's considered a Swedish champion and whatnot, a Swedish master or whatnot. So that
Swedish master.
That had to be difficult. Plus also, he was telling me some of the challenges he faced in terms of getting his firearm there, and then also getting like membership to one of the I forget what you call it, the clubs, right? Because he was saying that he had to be a member of a club that's further away from him than the one that's nearby for whatever reason.
Why was that?
The Pistol Club here in town has about 55 members. The Pistol Club in Norrtälje, which is an hour away, has over 200.
Oh.
So when I was shooting for Esthammer, you have to declare a club you're shooting for. It's called your head club, Huvudklubb. And there's nobody else there. There might be one other person there. You need a 3-man team. And after that was a club in Uppsala. And not enough people showing up. So I started looking around. I was talking to a lady friend, and I said, on average, how many people do you have show up for a Swedish Masters? And she said, oh, between 8 and 10. I went, and they have a heated firing line. They got a little clubhouse, and I changed clubs formally this year.
Yeah.
And I was on 7 different teams.
Mm.
And I said, well, the possibility of winning in the team categories is much greater. We had 2 ladies won 2 ladies competitions.
Two-man team, yeah.
2-person team.
Yeah.
And then Jan Oka and I won veteran older category in military rapid fire. So for me, it's much more beneficial.
Rewarding. Yeah.
Very
The
good.
potential
Very
there to pick up team medals is much greater.
Yeah.
Karina, did you hear that? Swedish. I heard him talking pretty good.
He tried to say something.
You know what? No, I have no idea what he said. It's very hard. I don't think he doesn't have that language here.
He don't have the tongue, the thing, like.
No, I have
No.
to be in a class. I don't pick it up naturally.
And also, I mean, that's the same thing. We're speaking English at home. And Gary actually did go to something called Swedish for Immigrants. And that's for any immigrant that comes here, and it's free. So he went there together with immigrants from all over the world. But you can tell the story, what happened there when I came to
When
the
you came to
classroom.
visit, I stopped. We had something to do in Uppsala, so we stopped by. What was the topic? It was a barbecue, and I said, Karina och jag planerar en grillfest för elever här.
We're planning a barbecue for the students here.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, he spoke Swedish.
I speak Swedish.
And that's what you're
The teacher asked me a question, and I turned to Karina and passed the question off to her in Swedish, and she answered in English.
Interesting.
And the instructor got really bent. Du måste prata med svenska med din man på hem.
You have to speak more Swedish with your husband.
Oh, so he chastised the wife.
You, Karina.
But if we did that, our days would be very complicated.
And long.
I tell you. Yeah.
So we get in the car, we're driving away. I said, "Vill vi prata mer svenska på hem?" And will we speak more Swedish at home? She goes, "Oh, I guess so."
No. He asked me, do you want to speak more Swedish at home? And
She answered in English.
Yeah, I guess so.
Karina, I've been married a long time too, Karina. The key to a happy relationship is doing the things that will work. So you answering in English, you knew it would work.
Yeah, correct.
You have to do the things that work. That's the key. Now, Gary, we asked Karina some questions. We're at that point in the show where we asked Karina some questions. This is the fun part. And we want to know.
You're laughing now. Wait.
So for our audience, Karina, tell us just a little bit about how you all met and when you met in life, because I think that's important, just as a framing.
We met online. In those days, it was kind of forbidden. My kids were absolutely not liking it. My mother said, "What kind of a con man is he?" Gary and I communicated. We didn't have this medium that we're on now. We had the chat, where you wrote.
MSM.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
and
right.
so that was it. And also Gary's father that I loved very much. He was of Swedish descent and a couple of generations prior. And if he hadn't been around, I think my beginning in the US would have been harder. And he also said something about a Swede. You want to tell it or?
I told him I was going to ask a woman to marry me. He says, well, where's she from? I said, Sweden. And he got real angry and he said, why are you going to marry a Swede? They're dumb as bricks. I said, Dad, you're second generation Swedish American. He says, well, I ought to know. So when I brought her over to the house in Bowie, Dad said, go make some coffee. And I came back with the coffee and he goes, we're past that.
But he was a journalist. So the first thing he asked me was, Carina, tell me a little bit about yourself. That's like a journalist question. And
Yes,
how
it
do you
is.
start, So, but I did that and I was approved. So that was good.
What did you tell him, Karina? What did you say?
Well, it's what I told him. I said, yeah, well, obviously I'm divorced. I don't know. And then I said something about I'd gone back to teaching at the time. And that's also something Gary's father questioned. How do you know she's a teacher? so I talked about that. And yeah, so that was the whole thing. It was kind of humorous. But my father, I sent him a picture of me and Gary. And my father only said, yeah, it looks like he has pondus. I don't know if you know what pondus is.
No.
Like,
No,
he's a man. That's what he
Arnold
meant.
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Oh, he said he's.
Yeah.
Oh, he looked like
Not
he's.
Arnold, but
Oh.
No, back then,
So-
yeah.
So your father approved then.
he approved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Like
hey,
Gary.
Kari-
Gary, you
Kar-
had it. All he needed was that the muscles and all of that, right?
Well, you know,
But
Well,
Karina's-
that was 20 years ago. So
I think it was more like the big belly, maybe. Sorry, go back.
it's okay. We'll be off the air soon enough.
Yeah.
Karina's father was something special too, though. He was something like a well-known ship captain or whatnot. So
Yeah.
she come from she got a little royal lineage herself. You know what I mean?
No.
Wonderful stock, wonderful. Well, let's see, I love hearing so much about how relationship starts because it's, sometimes it's not how it starts, it's how it finishes. So let's see how you all finish today.
Yeah. Yes, let's go to that. Yeah.
And Gary, I'll let you know that your wife, she knows you. Okay. She knows you pretty well. So let's see if you know what she thinks about you. So first, give you an easy one. What'd she say your favorite food was?
What did I say?
What did she say?
Your favorite
Your favorite
food was?
food
Pasta.
was. Yep.
Did we
That's
get that
right.
right, Karina?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
she said, yeah. See, already look. If this was that marriage game, I think you guys. What did you get?
right. The
Points for it?
newlyweds.
The newlywed game. They got it right. Yeah, so we all
Yeah.
be clapping for you.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what is your favorite memory with her?
Shoes.
Tell us more. Shoes.
Oh, she goes, shoes.
What do you mean by shoes?
Well, we were married about a year. And we rented a townhouse, which we subsequently bought from my father in Bowie, Maryland. And I'm sitting on the easy chair watching TV. She comes up and says, she had just started real estate.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
She just started real estate. And she says, I need a new pair of shoes for work. I said, okay. The others are worn out, yada, yada, yada. I said, okay. They're not going to be there. I said, what's the problem? I said, you're working. You're making more than I am. What are you worried? What's with the shoe business? She goes, well, One time I asked my ex-husband if I could buy new shoes, and he said the other ones weren't worn out enough yet. And I got PO'd. I said, go out and buy 2 pair of shoes.
I know
What?
that's right.
I am not your ex-husband. Get a nice pair for work, and while you're there, you might as well get a nice what do you call it?
I don't know what you think.
Nice dress shoes for going out to galas or I forget.
There you
Yeah.
go.
But
Heels.
get yourself a
Yeah.
nice evening pair of shoes.
Yeah.
And she did.
Excellent.
And I
Good.
said, don't ever ask me that again. And she took advantage of me. I got an inheritance from Dad, and she wanted 2/3 of it to what do you call it? Gentrify, to redo the house. And I just went,
Go ahead.
yeah, okay. She said, that's 2/3 of your inheritance. And I said, well, I still got a lot for bullets. So what the heck? Just go
I love
ahead.
No.
No, we never argued about. Well, we did. We had one argument about money. That was more of a situation. She came over. She liquidated in Sweden and came over. We were living in a studio room. We were renting a house from someone that turned out to be a schmuck. But anyway, that's another story. And she says, "I'm going to pay off all your debt that your ex-wife left you." I said, "You will not."
I hear that.
Yes, I will. No, it's X amount of money.
Mhm.
Welcome to America. You need a car. Oh, I can catch the bus. You got to walk like 2 miles sometimes to
Yeah.
catch the first
Yeah.
bus.
Man, lying.
Yeah.
It's not like here. I mean, I've been out in the middle of nowhere, and every 500 meters there's a bus stop. I'm talking about
Interesting.
Wow.
what do you call it? Farm to market roads, and
Yeah.
there's bus stops. So
Yeah.
I said, you don't understand.
I did.
So I won that argument. She bought a car. Of course, she had to get a Jeep because I had a Jeep. But that's
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 it,
about
huh?
it.
that's
Yeah.
it. That's
Yeah.
the only.
Yeah.
I said, okay.
What a wonderful marriage when there's so few arguments you can't even really remember them. Karina, what did you say he was going to say about that?
I
memory with
thought he was going to say that he was so impressed when I was jumping on the rocks on Long Island.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah. That was a good one.
What made it so good, Jared?
Yes. What did you say afterwards? That you said you were impressed because
I was impressed because you were not. You were definitely not a couch potato.
no,
She might scare her, Gary.
that's the thing. I mean, here in Sweden, we grow up in the archipelago with all those rocks and cliffs and everything, and we have free access to public forests. So you're used to walk in nature. And I know so many Americans are not. They walk on paved streets. So of
Mhm.
course, I was kind of agile in those days.
I know that's
I like
right,
to hear
Karina.
that.
I
Yeah,
know that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All right, great. Last question. What is something she would want to change about you?
Who goes, me?
It was
Yeah.
my answer.
You want me to answer?
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah,
thought?
temper. I have
Karina,
a short temper.
did he get that right?
No.
What would the correct answer be, Karina?
I said everything.
Well,
But I didn't mean it. I said
oh, you didn't mean it.
no.
No.
I explained that, we married at age 50, and I know that
I was hopeless.
it's hard to teach an old dog
So-
new tricks.
No. I learned Swedish shooting.
There you go.
Woof woof.
And you,
Yeah.
and you learn some sweet. You learn some. Hey,
Yeah.
Karina, what's the how you call the Swedish language? You told me the other day. I forget. It's sweat. I can't
Which
remember.
one?
Swinglish.
Yeah, what do you call it? It's when you say you speak Swedish, what is the actual word for it?
Svenska.
Prata
Svenska, that's it.
svenska. Yeah.
That's it. So Gary learned
knew
that.
Yeah.
He learned some of
Prata
that, right?
svenska. Yeah.
He learned a little
Gary-
bit of that.
Gary, guess what? I'm doing what Dad did. That's that's what you did.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
Well, you know what, Karina and Gary, I want to tell you this, right? Because the part of the story that I thought was most important about us coming out there was we actually went to 2 places in Europe when we went to visit you.
Mm.
And when we got back to the US, I asked my kids, I said, so what was the best part of this trip? And they said, seeing Karina and Gary. And I said, why? I said,
Yeah.
why did y'all think that was the best part? And they was like, cause it was love there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
And-
appreciated that. That was
And I love those kids.
We had you fooled.
And I don't know if you remember, but at Amir's first birthday party, I was
You were
invited
there.
and you were there also. And we basically just said hello. That was it with so many people.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that because there was so many people, but you were playing with Amir and Tasia at the time. You were teaching them a
Yeah,
song,
yeah,
something.
Yes.
But
yes.
but like I said, Karina, that experience was amazing. It was wonderful. Like they said, it was love there, and I was glad that they had that impression.
Mhm.
Karina was also responsible for Amir getting the bearded dragon because he
Oh,
he wanted that, and I didn't. I was thinking, when I heard of it at first, I was like, well, the dragon eats crickets or whatever, and so you got to have the dragon plus a cricket farm, and I was thinking, man, crickets make all that noise outside and stuff. I don't want to do the crickets, but Karina worked on me.
Yeah.
as only it
Convinced
seems
me.
like Karina can. She worked on Gary. She worked it. I consider my brother, who I love very deeply, a very stubborn man. So so he's a very stubborn man. Karina, let me tell you this story really quickly before we have to go. I wanted to do headshots for our podcast because we're
Yeah.
hanging out a lot. People need to see us and see us together. And so my brother, in all of his infinite wisdom, goes, "For what purpose?" He goes, "What's the purpose? I need for he really is. Folks hear him talking now, but if you really know my brother, what I love about him was our relationship was I was always talking to him and he was listening, and then he'd give me 2 or 3 sound bites and he would send me on my way. So
Yeah.
I'm always coming saying, "Hey, we need to do this." And he said, "For what purpose?"
Yeah.
So then I said, "It's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. I promise." He kept saying, "For what purpose?" You have not shared with me the purpose. And I said, "I just want to do it, Xavier. I want to do it. Can you do this with me?" So he did do it with me, but he
Yeah.
stuck this picture thing drug out for 6 months
Oh yeah.
because I
Yeah.
kept asking him and pulling from his stubborn self. And he finally agreed with me. So if Gary is anything like my stubborn brother, I know you must be very, very special to convince him to do anything that he doesn't want to do. Because I have yet to convince him, except the pictures. I convinced him
You
of
did
that
get the
because he said,
pictures.
I
And
did get my pictures.
that was Big Brother, a little bit Big Brother telling little sister, being Big Brother. That's what I was saying. That's what you were acting like at the time.
For what purpose? He was a wonderful big brother for the most part. There is one incident where he locked me in a closet. But I believe he regrets it because he apologized on this show. He said, "I'm sorry that hurt you so bad." but but for the most part, he was an exceptional big brother. And why I say that is he really didn't talk too much when we were kids. He was very kind of odd in that way where
Yeah.
he just was thinking all the time. But if I had problems, which is kind of how this show developed, is I have a lot of problems. So I need my brother to help me all the time. I'm like, "Help me." And when I come to him, I'm like in hysterics. He'll say, I'm very dramatic is what he'll call me. So I'll be like, "This and this happened and blah, 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 blah." And he'll just calmly give me an answer. So we used to talk all the time. And he said, "We need to tape this because what we're doing is so meaningful." So I love the time that I have with my brother. And I love that he connected us today. And I
Yeah.
love that you shared so openly. and I'm happy to be a part of your family. And if you need us to come to Sweden, there's a lot of me, but I'll come on.
Yeah, I need you. I'm going to need you at some point, But what I love also, I love now having talked to you and everything, and I feel, it's just wonderful. But also, what I wanted to say, another reason I think why Xavier and I have connected is because of his emotional IQ, because you have a lot of that, and that's unusual for many men.
I
But
appreciate you saying that.
it's also a connection for Gary, because Gary and Exadin can talk about emotions, and that's unheard of within the male community, so to speak.
Yeah,
So
indeed.
I think that's really, really great. Yeah.
Yeah, I
do
do
too.
too.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
both vulnerable. Gary is, Gary, I don't know that you know that your humor is fantastic. Like, don't ever change.
Well,
Yeah.
Your humor.
Your
you
humor.
owe me a medal because I held back a lot. Really.
Well,
If you look at my posts on Facebook when I battled the maggots, I think it was about, what is this, July?
yeah.
I think it was earlier this year. I said, well, what the hell? If I end up in Facebook jail, fine. It's not forever. But I've been letting loose. And surprisingly, I don't get a lot of replies anymore because I'm speaking their language. I mean, there's still those that believe when Trump levies a tariff, the exporter pays the tariff.
No.
Yeah.
They're out there. And I said, my God.
Yeah.
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 Well, we
It's passed on
appreciate
to the
you
consumer.
so much. Yeah, we appreciate you so much. We appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate what you bring to our family and now what you've brought into the Rose Garden. Is there any kind of final parting word you'd all like to leave for the Rose Garden? And then, brother, I'm gonna let you sign us off.
I'd like to leave a virtual flower for Mama Rose, because I understand she was a rose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I feel like, on just to piggyback off of what Karina said, I just want to, I feel like when people are gathered in a situation like this, our ancestors are here with us. So I want to salute Karina's father, mother, also Gary, people, brother, mother, father, all of that. And I want to just say, if anything, it just, Karina always says this all the time to me, and it is true. She was like, I don't know how this happened, but between us, like, we must have some sort of underlying spirit that's the same or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I feel like
something.
what we prove, what we demonstrate with the bond we have is that there are no, there's no differences, between people if people open up to each other. For real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mm.
I love that about you both. Like Sarita said, your vulnerability, and I appreciate you spending time with us and opening up a piece of your lives and hearts, to everybody else. So thanks for being part of the community.
Well, let's do this again in a month and we'll make it X-rated. No?
You know what, brother? There's no better way to end our show. Everybody, we thank you so much, and we're so humble. We're grateful that you join us in the Rose Garden every Thursday at 2:00. Remember to like and subscribe to our show. Bye for now.
Yeah. We also want to have a copy of